Hi and welcome to Mentor, yet another video podcast. It's great to see you all back here. For all you new joiners, very welcome to the channel. Continue to send in questions and feedback because I need more questions from you guys in order to find more subjects to talk about. So it's really up to you guys what you want to this channel to continue to do. So today I'm going to talk about a subject which I think is really important to talk about. I've been receiving quite a lot of questions from all over the world. And it's female pilots, females in the flight deck, okay? The questions I have been receiving are from people, females that are interested in joining the business, but they ask things like, can I do this and still have a good family life? Are there a lot of female pilots around? And can I become a pilot? Is it even possible? So I want to start this podcast by saying, yes, you are needed. Sorely needed in this industry, okay? If you're a female watching this and you are thinking about going to take a lesson, please do so, because we really need you guys, okay? And if you're a male watching this, watch it as well and listen to what I'm saying, because it's largely up to us to see to it that the gender equality improves within this industry. So I've done some research. I've looked through some global statistics and also some statistics from the United States on how many commercial pilots are female versus male. And it's actually fairly sad reading to do. It turns out that worldwide we have about 5% of the pilot body being female. And that is way lower than it should be. The reason for that are many. I'm going to go through a few of them here. Now, most of it is research that I've found online, but also a little bit of my own observations, okay? So stay with me, and stay with me to the end of this, because I will make some good points at the end of this, okay? So it looks like the gender inequality are pretty much global. So there are there's very few females in the industry in all parts of the world. It does vary a little bit between countries that have a really high equality rate over the line. So you will see countries like Sweden and Finland, for example, where they have 8 or 9%, respectively 12% of the pilot body being female. And then it goes down to around an average of 5% or so, with some dips as well of certain parts of the world. But it all comes together in being way below where it should be, okay? And the reason for this is largely because of stereotypes, because of historical stereotypes that shouldn't exist, but they still do. So both between the general public, people traveling, and also within the pilot community of that pilot, a commercial commercial captain is a distinguished old gentleman with grey hair. Okay, that's what people are picturing. Still, it is changing, but very slowly. In the United States, there was actually a drive for female pilots, largely done from the state and from the military between the 1960s and the 1980s, where they put commercial pictures of female pilots in newspapers and in movies, things like that. And that made a huge increase in the amount of female pilots within the pilot body during those decades. They could see that it rose from being, back in the 1960s, you needed to meet about 22,000 females in order to find one pilot. In the 1980s, that was down to about 4,200. So there was a big increase, and that was largely driven by a change in picture. So what people saw in newspapers, movies, commercials and so on had a huge effect on the amount of females that was in the industry. And it just goes to show that when you have a stereotype in force, it does a huge effect, okay? And that's still the case today. However, it is getting increasingly better and better. But if you compare the pilot occupation to other traditionally male-dominated occupations, like in the States, for example, police officers now have around 15% being females. Air traffic controllers, they're around 26% females. and even boat captains. Now, boat captains, that would be a job where you're away from the family for a long time and you have very, very hard working conditions. Even them have higher, they're around 8.2% female. So there's definitely work to be made within the airline business when it comes to this. So the questions that people tend to ask me is like, can I, do I have the physical strength to become an airline pilot if I'm a female? And to be honest, the amount of physical strength that's needed to be a modern airline pilot is very limited. And most people, both male and female, have the physical strength needed. There are only a very few exercises that you will ever come across where you need actual physical strength. One of them being complete loss of hydraulic systems within a Boeing, for example. It's called manual reversion, where you have to actually pull lines that pulls the rudders. That requires quite a bit of physical strength, but from what I've seen when I've been instructing, male and female students do equally bad or poor at this, so it has nothing to do with that. Other physical attributes that have been historically used as a barrier for females to enter the business are length. The only length requirements I've seen so far when I've been research is that you need to be taller than about 155 centimeters and less tall than about 195. And the reason for that is because of the ergonometry in the flight deck. So you need to be able to reach the rudder pedals, for example, from the most forward position of the chair. And this is also being changed. So, for example, back in the 60s and 70s, all cars that were to be driven by females, you needed to have a little cushion to put yourself on. Then the car manufacturers realized that actually 50% of humanity is females. Maybe we should make cars that would, work with female drivers as well. The same thing is happening within the airline industry as well. So they do exist. Some airlines still do have the height and weight restrictions. They are due to ergonomical factors, but I think that they will change as well to accommodate basically every size of person available. So basically, when it comes to physical attributes, I would say not really. You need to be fit, healthy. You need to be able to get a class 1 medical, which applies to male and female equally. So there's nothing stopping you there from becoming a pilot. When it comes to psychological attributes, CRM attributes, you should actually have an edge on the male population, because back in the old days, so back in the 50s and 60s, the airline industry largely recruited from the military. And I've mentioned this in previous podcasts as well. When you recruit from the military, you get one type of person applying. You'll get the single pilot-minded Chuck Yeager type that is very used to relying on his own capability, his own decision-making process, but is not very keen of involving other people in the decision-making process. So that forms part of that stereotype that you guys are seeing today as well. But it's not actually the case. That's not the kind of pilots that we're recruiting anymore. What we're recruiting now are great leaders, people with good situational awareness, so they know what's going on, and they have the ability to utilize the group around them to be good leaders, and to have good multitasking skills. And these are all soft skills that most of the female pilots that I've flown with excel in. And to be perfectly honest, some of the absolute best pilots that I have flown with and I have instructed have been female. And some of them have been male. Basically there's nothing pointing either way here. So, but those soft skills that I'm talking about now, those are largely traditional female attributes, as in they are used to working in groups, supporting each other. And that's exactly what we want in the flight deck now. So you see, I'm really working at, if you're a female and you want to get into this business, or you're curious about this business, then please go to an open day. There is groups online as well, female Aviation International, I think it's called, one of the groups, where they are promoting female pilots getting into the industry, getting into these open days to make sure that you can find out about it and find your passion for flying and go for it, because there's absolutely nothing there to stop you. When it comes to family, which is one of the most common questions that I get, female pilots will face exactly the same kind of obstacles as male pilots. So the roster is not always great. You might have to work weekends, nights, evening, and mornings, and also over school weekends. Sorry, school vacations. But that is not something that should stop you. If you are together with a partner and you're both aware of the kind of job that you have, that you might be gone certain weekends and stuff, it's exactly the same as if he would be gone on certain weekends and nights and evenings. You just have to work yourself around it. You have to be aware of it. And in most airlines, I would say almost all airlines now, there's maternity leave available, just like in any other job, things like that. So yes, there are some obstacles when it comes to family life for female pilot, just as it is for male pilots. So there's nothing either better or worse there. You need to be aware of it. Have a look at my video, Life Quality as an Airline Pilot, and I'm covering some of these subjects there. But largely, there's nothing nowadays that stops a girl that's interested in going into the aviation industry from doing so. Is only the stereotypes that you might have in your own head, and also the stereotypes from male pilots around, but they are changing. The dinosaurs that didn't want females in the flight deck, they are basically all retired now. The airline industry, together with all the industries worldwide, are changing for the better when it comes to equality. But we still need you guys to come in and try and go for the training, because if you guys don't, then this trend will never stop. It will just continue being 95% male pilots, and the stereotype will never go away. So I can see in the airline I'm working for now that we are getting more and more girls into the flight deck, which is a great thing. I can see that there is a change, and it has changed during my time, the 13 years that I've been working. There's much more female pilots now than was 13 years ago, and we're really, really happy about that, because we do think that you guys provide an essential part of the evolving airline business and secure safety thinking and teamwork and everything. So obviously 50% of the humanity are females, so we need you guys to be inside of the airline business to represent yourself. Okay, that's pretty much all I have to say on that subject. If you do have questions about this, then send them in, and I'll do my best to answer them as always. And as always, feel free to recommend to share this video on Facebook, on Instagram, or whatever you think that it's suitable, so that we can continue building on the momentum and get more and more subscribers in here, so we get more questions, so we get more videos. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time.